Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It's been a while since I've done one of these recordings, so I just wanted to say a few words before we got started. Over Christmas, I was gifted this wonderful controller, and I've tested it out pretty heavily over the last 10 days. I've played a bunch of different games. Pretty much any game I had that used a controller, I've put a lot of strain into this controller. And the day I got it, I ran the Steam configuration utility, and I used the Steam configuration utility today. There has been zero deviation. Now I know that's a 10, 11 day period. It's not the end all and be all of how much wear and tear the controller can take, but it's a good indication that in short-term heavy use, no damage has been done to the functionality of this controller, despite very heavy use. So I'm going to start with that little bit of information. Now let's go into what we've actually got here. This is the 8BidDo Ultimate C wired controller for Xbox. Now, as y'all know, I'm a bit of a old timer. I like wired controllers. The latency is lower. It is a very strong competitive controller. Although I don't play a lot of competitive games, I don't do a lot of online competition. So let's go and take a look at how the packaging comes. It's a good strong box to protect your controller, because this is coming by mail. You open this up, these foam rings protect the sticks in transit, and this foam bag protects the finish while it's in transit as well. So this is a very good packaging. You're not going to have any issues with the packaging at all. The device will be protected while it's on its way to you. This is available on Amazon, both in the UK, EU, and in America. It's roughly $35 to $50, depending on which provider you're buying it from. It does come with, if I can get you a zoom in here, comes with a card inside that has a scratch off for a code for Game Pass. Now, if you have never had Game Pass Ultimate, I'm going to put this aside so that we can take a look at the controller in a second. If you've never had Game Pass Ultimate, you can use that code to get a free month to try out Game Pass Ultimate. If you have had Game Pass Ultimate, the code will not work. I gave mine to my son-in-law, who has never had Game Pass Ultimate. That's a $20 value. If you paid $35 for this controller and you got a $20 Game Pass voucher, you paid $15 for this controller, especially if you've never used Game Pass. I highly recommend you try it out. The free games on Game Pass are definitely worth having Game Pass. Now, I myself have been a Game Pass user for years. I enjoy, over the years, having been a member, although I have recently started shifting away. I'm saving some money aside so that I can move my gaming off of Game Pass, because at $20 a month to play the 2 or 3 games that I'm playing there, it's not cost productive for me. Your mileage may vary. It's entirely up to you. They do allow you access to a lot of new releases that you would never get access to for free otherwise. And a great example is I have been playing the Indiana Jones and the Great Circle in cloud gaming, so I don't even have to download it. I just play it through the Game Pass on the cloud. Excellent game. Highly recommend that you take advantage of things like that. If you have the $20 a month to spend on Game Pass, and like I said, give it a try for the freebie that you're getting with the controller. Give it a try. But let me get into the actual controller now. This is a USB-C connector. There are no batteries in this. This is not a wireless controller. You plug in. You'll notice it does not light up. It does have a headphone jack in the bottom. So if you want to use your Xbox headset, it does have stereo and microphone connector. So you can just plug right in and have your voice communication, your stereo sound right through your headset, just like with any other Xbox headset controller. You are not ready to play at this point, though. The other end of this cable, this is a 2-meter cable, by the way, so just over 6 feet for us Americans. In order to get the controller ready to use, you have to push the Xbox button. It is now ready to use. You can see the chasing lights on it. It is now synced to the computer. Just like any other Xbox controller, it works natively under Windows. You have the select and menu buttons. You also have this button in the center that changes your lights. This is a solid light. Now, if you look, nothing is happening to the light except for it's indicating something here. But if I hold this, the intensity of the light goes up and down when I push up and down. The color changes when I push left and right. When I push it again and then hold it down, I can change the color of the chase. And again, with the last setting. Now, I prefer to have it chasing. That's just my preference. You can speed up and slow down the rate of chase. You know, how fast the lights go around, which I really enjoy that. It's a well-made device, in my opinion. Now let's get into the reason that I requested this type of controller. The triggers and joysticks are not normal joysticks and triggers. They're Hall effect. And what that means is, in a regular joystick controller, let me get my old one. In my old controller, these joysticks and these triggers have a physical connection that they have to create resistance on. So two pieces of metal slide over each other, and that sliding piece of metal creates electric resistance that is measured by the system. That measurement of electrical resistance tells the computer or the Xbox where, in relation to 0, the joystick is pointing. Hall effect joysticks have no such physical connection. Instead, they use a ferrous piece of metal inside a magnetic field. And as that moves inside the magnetic field, it is detected in its location, and that detected location is relayed via microchip on the controller the same way to the computer and or Xbox. Because of that, there is no physical connection to wear out. Two pieces of metal contacting each other are always passing electricity. And because of that, even with the best material possible, there's always a small amount of wear, and that small amount of wear is also creating a small amount of carbon buildup. The more wear and carbon buildup there is, the less sensitive the joystick will be. And as time goes on, the more out of alignment those two elements become with each other. And as you can see, this also doesn't manually return to center as the physical resistance of the two metal pieces overcomes the rubber band, because they're pulled back to center by a set of rubber or silicone bands. And the more resistance that builds up, the harder it is for those bands to pull it back to zero. And you can clean them over time. It becomes harder and harder to clean. Let me get this out of the way, because that's not what we're reviewing. But the more you clean, the sloppier the joystick will become. And the same goes with the trigger. It's wearing, but it's wearing in a linear fashion, so it's eventually going to be very loose. And it's going to be difficult to smoothly engage. It's going to very suddenly engage. With the Hall effect, there's no physical contact, so it will never wear in that fashion, and it's never going to have to overcome friction to return to zero. It's a higher quality device, in my opinion. And this is a lower end, dollar-wise, but there's no need to spend a lot more for the high-end controller just to get the higher-end features, because the only feature I would add to this, in my opinion, are buttons on the belly of the device, because I do not like pushing down on joysticks, which comes from the older joysticks wearing out quicker. I got into the habit of buying them with belly buttons, so I didn't have to push down on them. And you program those belly buttons to take the job of pushing down on those joysticks. And that, or if you have two sets of buttons on the bottom, you can program the extra buttons to do things like push to talk for your microphone, for in-game communication, that sort of thing. Those are good things. However, and this is the part that you'll find on some other controllers, there are other features that this doesn't have. There are trigger locks on some controllers. That's a good feature that this doesn't have. There are adjustable tension rings on some controllers. Some gamers like that. You can loosen up your sticks or tighten them down to the point where they are very difficult to move. Again, some gamers love having very stiff or very loose sticks. I find that the tension of a quote-unquote standard tension stick is just fine for me. So everybody's preference is going to dictate what level of features you need. The one thing that definitely will stand out to you is, let me get it's narrower than the original form factor. That is something that some people find frustrating, because your arms get a little bit closer to your chest. Because you're automatically, when you hold the controller, you're pulling these 3 fingers, or 2 fingers if you're, depending on how you hold the the controller, but you're automatically pulling your elbows up against your body. But for me, when I game, I relax quite a bit. I push my arms forward, which means that I'm not uncomfortable and I don't end up with it pulled up against my chest. When I sit back across the room, and this 2-meter cable allows me to cross the room even when I'm on my PC, I can sit back in the recliner, and this is not an uncomfortable form factor. This also does get to the point where the other model of this same controller, which is about the same price on Amazon, is the this is the Ultimate C wired. The Ultimate 2C is the wireless. It's virtually the same price, and you get the wireless controller. It will connect to your Xbox or your PC via wireless connector, and of course it uses the same chassis, if I'm not mistaken. So you'll be having the same narrow grip. And there are a few different face plates that you can pick up. There's a few designer face plates. You don't have to get gray. But, you know, I find that these controllers are bang for buck far superior to any conventional controller, and dollar-wise, they are giving you the same impact as the $200 to $300 controller, because you're not paying for the name. So I hope you found this useful. Keep an eye on this space, because in a couple of weeks you're going to see another review. I've got another mobile gaming device that will be reviewed here in the next 2 to 4 weeks. Until then, take care, everybody. Check in on friends and family, and keep on gaming with RP.